Hi, this video is about AI implementation in healthcare. My name is David Hood and I'm CEO of 42 Robots AI, where we help organizations implement AI. I'll put some links to some videos in the description that will help expand on some of these concepts. If you're in the healthcare space, AI already is having lots of value that it's adding and has added over the last decade. But even more so with the latest technology, it is really going to help a lot. At least in the United States, and I think in most across the world, we're dramatically understaffed with healthcare. And AI can help fill in a lot of those gaps and enable the staff that we do have to have better jobs and to enjoy them more and to reduce the amount of headache while also providing better care. And a lot of this comes from the new capabilities that are provided by the modern large language models, LLMs. So I definitely recommend watching that video, and I'm going to cover some of the concepts in here with regards to that. One of the biggest categories and most important things is data processing. In healthcare and the medical space in general, there's so much data to deal with. Even just you look at one person, how much data is there on that one person? And it is a lot. And so this is one of the most useful categories in healthcare. And this goes well beyond chatbots. So a lot of what people are thinking about with regards to what AI does and how you use it are thinking of it through the frame of chatbots, using ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, or whatever, and leveraging it that way. And while there definitely is some value there, the ability for AI to help goes way, way beyond that. That's just a small slice of what's possible. Let's cover some of the critical concepts that are directly relevant to understanding what AI can really do for healthcare and how to implement. So first of all, let's dig a little bit deeper into the large language model data processing. This is not an exhaustive list. Data processing is a broad term that can mean a variety of different things, but data extraction, data compression, and summarization is part of that, data expansion, data discovery, analysis, data merging. Merging is actually incredibly useful. All these things are things that LLMs can do really well, especially when you know how to do it correctly, very reliably. If you don't know how to do it correctly, you get a lot of unreliability to where you can actually process large amounts of data way faster than a human could. We're talking 100x, 1,000x, 10,000x with AI. And so this presents a lot of value to help people in the healthcare space and patients. It is important to understand some of the limitations of LLMs as well, in that essentially it is kind of like an imitation engine. It's basically regurgitating what is in its data. It's not completely correct because there are some emergent properties. And while that is literally what it is doing, it effectively can do more. It's kind of complicated. But one way to think about this is that in terms of ingredients versus recipes, LLMs cannot create new ingredients, but they can create new recipes. So they can take the pieces of data and combine them in novel ways, but they can't create new pieces, new fundamental pieces of that data. Something important to understand. So next token prediction, this is how when you go to run the model and try to get a response from it, it is doing the thing one token at a time. It doesn't look back at the tokens and go, oh, actually, let me fix that one. And there's also some randomness to each token that it is prediction. And a token, think of it like a chunk of text, a very small chunk, usually about 4 characters. It can vary. And so this is part of why it hallucinates, because there's a randomness and sometimes it picks something wrong or very unlikely and then it goes off the rails. This is also why if you put like an LLM on a loop and you just let it run without a human to kind of guide it, then eventually it inevitably will go off the rails because it'll start predicting. Once it starts predicting or using less and less likely tokens or just incorrect tokens, independent of the probability, just doing it wrong because maybe there's a part of the data set that's relevant, that it seems it's relevant, but it actually gets wrong, it's just going to get more and more wrong and go more and more off the rails. So this is something that is a very serious limitation that dramatically affects the usefulness in particular ways, and it makes it, you need somebody who understands how to control this so that it doesn't go off the rails. And there's a variety of techniques to do this for AI engineers. So also, this is something that it just doesn't get really talked about a lot. There's all this talk about how the model is improving quickly and technology is changing so fast. But let's look at this really rationally. And since the Google's paper came out for the transformer technology, which is what these LLMs are based upon, it is almost, not exactly, but it's almost the same 500 lines of Python code that it was in 2017. That may be hard to believe. Really what has changed is how they're dealing with the data, they're putting more data into there, and they're doing a better job of cleaning the data or fine-tuning. But other than that, like, it's the same core technology. It has not really changed. So this should be a huge clue to you in terms of how brittle the technology is and how little we are able to actually improve it. But also, if you look at the improvements of the models over the last 18 months, so I'm shooting this in September of 2024, basically since GPT-4 came out in April of 2023, so about 17, let's say a year and a half ago, the models have not improved that much. If you compare GPT-4 in April 2023 to the best model now, which is probably Claude Sonnet 3.5, well, there is a difference. It's not like a wide gap. It's not like it's, oh my God, it's still going so fast. We are in a bit of a plateau for model performance. And anybody saying otherwise is probably trying to sell you something. And so this is something to really keep in mind. Now, this is not a bad thing because the new capabilities that comes about, most people still don't seem to even have a grasp of how to leverage these tools. That's what I'm here for. That's what my company's here for. But so there's still a lot of adjusting to the new paradigm that engineers and companies have to get value out of these. And I expect that even if the models were to be completely flat for the next 10 years, there's still a lot of work to be done to integrate them into systems and to do a good job of them, of leveraging them. Okay, so here's something that when you want to go to build actual, what I would call AI-powered solutions that solve real-world problems, you really need to look at it from a practicality versus like a fun, interesting perspective. And most of the work going on right now has to do with fun/interesting. It's computer scientists who are interested in these new toys and playing with them and doing it in a way that gets them off from an intellectual curiosity and enjoyment standpoint. But that's not necessarily the most effective way to add value to your organization. And so these first three are really what you end up, it's kind of the result of the fun and interesting perspective. You end up building solutions that are very LLM centric, where the model is the solution and the solution is the model for the most part. And you can see this in the way that people talk about it. If you are trying to talk to somebody who you're talking to them about maybe integrating AI into your company, and they're using the word model to interchangeably with the solution, so they're saying, oh yeah, we're going to build a model for you, and the model will do this, and the model will do that, run, because that is not somebody who really understands how to build AI power solutions. And I'm going to explain that in a second, and again, some of the links to the videos will go into more detail. This is backwards. This is makes it so that you're only going to be able to solve a very tiny percentage of what is possible with the LLMs versus the other 99%, which is what I'm going to talk about now in a second. So Copilot is an example of this. Microsoft is selling. I don't blame them. I like Microsoft, and they're one of the companies that kind of wins no matter what happens with this AI space. But Copilot is not a check that box. You've solved your AI. You're moving forward as an organization with AI. It really doesn't give you a whole lot, and a lot of times it can be basically a net neutral or even a net negative to try to kind of force your people to use Copilot. There's definite value there, but it's just scratching the surface. It's less than 1% of what really can be done with LLMs. So really, the practical way to think about this is building software, and it's boring and uninteresting, and that's why people are ignoring it, especially like PhDs in computer science who want to do the fun stuff. But really what and so the effect of this is that instead of trying to shove as much as you can into the LLM, you actually pull as much of the solutions out of LLM. You build software and you try to solve it without LLMs until you need an LLM. Then for a key part, you solve it with LLMs and you try to make it as narrow as possible. And one of the key value adds from this process is that you get much more reliability because you're narrowing the focus of what you're trying to solve at a key place. And then you're using LLMs at a bunch of different places within your software solution. And what you end up with this is you're able to do way more things, way more effectively, and add far more value to your company. And then you have to think about this from a system standpoint as well, which is how is this going to plug into your systems, and also where are the efficiencies that you get from building these solutions, and that will help you understand why you can get so much more value out of AI solutions built the right way, where instead of thinking about the LLM as the center of the solution and it uses kind of other software stuff or training or whatever as tools, actually you think about it the other way around. You have software that uses LLMs as tools at key places to solve problems, and that's going to get you a lot more value. There's already a lot of use cases out there for some more obvious and simple things in the healthcare space. Like I've heard of a lot of doctor's notes tools. That's great. You can the doctor can provide more value and come in a little bit more prepared in the same amount of time with a patient, because a lot of times the doctor doesn't have a lot of time. It's not their fault. It's just if they want to be in business, they can only spend so much time with a patient. And it's unfortunate. This reduces healthcare outcomes, the positive healthcare outcomes. And so part of that is summarization, but it's analysis. And a lot of this is very chatbot focused. And so this is common use cases, and there's definitely real value there. But I would encourage you to go deeper. One of the most common use cases that we run into that is incredibly valuable is data extraction. So you have tons of data on a patient, on a market, on a specific disease, on your organization, anything, and you want to extract key data that takes a long time for a person to comb through. AI is really good at this. And data analysis is also really good. And I would encourage you to look at the new capabilities that come from LLMs and cross that with some of the challenges in your organization or where there's a lot of work or where you spend a lot of money to go deeper than kind of the surface level stuff that we see right now. I'll just briefly cover a couple of case studies that we have worked on. They're both from healthcare revenue cycle management. One of them is a performance metrics process that was highly manual with some very expensive people, and we basically about 80% automated it, a little bit more than that, but to where they can do it a lot faster, and it makes it so that their team, and this is a lot of data extraction, but it's also data analysis, and then it's also automating, building kind of some structured data in a key way. And so this one, it makes it so that they can serve their customers way faster and way better and for less money. Another one we have is like medical faxes. So these are sometimes handwritten. They're come in all sorts of different structure. And in terms of the data that they get, sometimes they have this data, sometimes they don't. Sometimes the data is in this format. Sometimes a field is in this format. Sometimes it's in this format. Sometimes it's labeled this way. Sometimes it's not labeled. And so being able to extract that key data in order to from this completely manual process and automate that to a significant degree is what we're doing. Now, we're in the middle of this project right now. We've already got a good start on it, and we're already able to automate a decent bit of the data extraction, but we're still working on this as well. This is another revenue cycle management company. So that's, and I think that just about every healthcare medical organization has copious amounts of data that need processing, or that they're either under leveraging or they're expensively leveraging. Okay, how to get started. Let's get started. First of all, you need a chief AI officer. If your company has more than 100 people, you need at least a fractional chief AI officer, which is services we provide. But if you have like over 1,000 people, you almost certainly need a chief AI officer. I would be like, you're doing your organization a disservice over the next 5 to 10 years by not having a chief AI officer. And I shot a video about this that goes into more detail about why this is super important, and I encourage you to watch that. So that's kind of the starting point. You need a fractional chief AI officer or a chief AI officer, at least hire us as a consultant or some sort of AI consultant who doesn't talk about model as a solution, the solution is the model, to help get the ball rolling here. And then the chief AI officer, while they should have AI engineering experience and they can probably do some of that, should probably hire the AI engineer. And I would not recommend you just have a software development person hire an AI engineer, because you're going to get some of the solutions that I talked about above. And this is not necessarily a machine learning engineer, although oftentimes a machine learning engineer can become an AI engineer. But unfortunately, part of the challenge here is that there's not a lot of people who have real world modern experience doing AI engineering or chief AI officering. So this is not a simple thing to do. If you're still with me right now, definitely call the number or click the link and at least talk to us for no commitment required, to see kind of if that makes sense for you. And then once you have these two pieces, you find the lowest hanging fruit. And this isn't necessarily where you get the most value. It's something where you have the highest confidence that you can provide some amount of value as quickly as possible. And this helps with buy-in, because a lot of this is just political to some degree, and getting buy-in from different organizations. You're going to have people work to help integrate AI. And so as a result, you're going to need to get buy-in from a variety of different people in order for this to actually get the momentum. And really what you're looking at is, this is a long-term muscle building thing. This is something where if your competitors start before you, they'll crush you. And the sooner you get this started, the better, because it's not going to work 100% right out of the gate. That's just not a feasible expectation. No matter how good you hire for chief AI officer and AI engineer, there's going to be some amount of failure that happens either in the middle of the project, or even a project that you picked, it turned out it just didn't quite work for your business as well as you thought. But that doesn't mean that there isn't value there. There's definitely a ton of value that you need to start implementing and working on as soon as possible. Anyway, if you like this video, please like it. And if you have any comments, please leave a comment below. Happy to discuss with you. Thanks for watching. Have a great day and reach out. Bye.